Ahoy Maties! Welcome to the seas. This is Damron. We are on part 4 of our Pirate's Life Tall Tales adventures, which brings us to Dark Brethren. This is a pretty cool mission. As always, we're going to jump right into it. We're going to get all of the commendations. I'll try to have everything time-stamped, as well as all the journals if you're looking for anything in particular. So with all of these new Tall Tales, of course, they can be found at any outpost. So any outpost in the Sea of Thieves, you just need to find the castaway who will reveal herself in the beginning of this tall tale, and eventually you will have a conversation that will lead to Jack Sparrow joining you on your ship. You'll receive your tall tale book, and at the end of it, it's telling you where to go, and they tell you during the conversation where you're going to be heading, which is the Coral Fortress. And if you look at your book, it's north of Smuggler's Bay and north of Old Faithful Isle. So that's pretty far north, because Smuggler's Bay is essentially the northwestern portion of the map, right? So if you go up from that, indeed you will find the Coral Fortress, which is actually out of the map of what we're used to. So let's go ahead and sail there. It's pretty beautiful. Once you get in kind of the area of the Coral Fortress, you're going to have like a pseudo storm, I guess. It's kind of like magical because it's raining, but even though it's raining, you don't have to worry. It's not going to fill up your boat. So while you're doing this tall tale, your boat's safe from the rain. It doesn't actually fill you up with water, which is pretty cool. I wish all the rain was like that in Sea of Thieves, but it's not. So let's head on into the fortress. So we just pulled up to the southern portion of the Coral Fortress, and you just kind of run right in, and it's kind of beautiful actually. There's a lot of really beautiful colors in this particular tall tale, but essentially when you walk in, you're going to find Jack Sparrow, and it's quite a lengthy scene here, but he's going to use his locket to open this door for you. So you just have to kind of stand here and wait for that scene to kind of play out, but eventually it will. And we're going to head to the first kind of cavern of the fortress, and the first thing that we're going to do is grab our first journal. So it's in the first room, just on the opposite side of where you walk in. You're going to find this broken shipwreck, and to the right of these two pieces of, you know, coral or algae or whatever is our first journal. Also in this first room is our first of 5 of the Siren's Call etchings that we need to discover in order to get that commendation, as well as learn how to solve a puzzle later on in order to get the Heart of a Thief commendation. So there's 3 levers that you need to pull, and for all 5 of these Siren Call areas where we're pulling these levers, you have to pull them in the order that I am doing it. You have to pull them in a specific order. So just on that left hand wall, we hit the first one, and again just kind of ride the wall, and you'll get the second one, come around for the third one, and when you hit the third one, you're going to see a picture of a shark kind of spawn on the back wall above the door that we came in. So there's 5 of those, and the order of those pictures will be a little bit important later. So moving on from that picture of the shark, we're going to progress the way that we're supposed to go, and it's going to lead you into this underwater tunnel system full of, again, nice coral and sea life kind of as you swim through here. This journal can be very hard to see, and it can be very easy to miss. So the best way is kind of as you're approaching this corner here, and you come around and you come to this really bright pinkish reddish coral right on your right hand side, right around that coral. Immediately look left, and you should see the journal sitting on some coral on the wall on the left hand side. So that one can be easy to miss, so just kind of take your time. But eventually you'll swim to the end of that tunnel, and you'll find Jack Sparrow at the top, and it appears to be blocked, but just wait a few seconds. Eventually he'll open it for you, and we're going to swim up into the next little cavern of this particular tall tale. And in here we have another journal to get. So just hop on this geyser, and it'll shoot you up to the next level, where will be a pulley that you can use. Use that pulley to use this kind of broken mast to swivel over to you. Again, this is the way that you have to go, so you're going to have to do this to progress the tall tale. But when you get to this point and you're jumping on this kind of yellow piece of coral here on the cavern wall, before you go straight and up that kind of wooden path to the left, go ahead and drop down to the next level, and you're going to find your journal resting right up against the rock here. So progressing on from that journal, we're just going to kind of go along this coral, and eventually we're going to come up this ladder here. And when we get to the top of the ladder, you're actually going to see Jack got to fall down, and you're going to go ahead and go into that as well. And when you're riding in this slide, hold right on your joystick. If you hold right on your joystick, eventually you'll kind of split off of the main path. You saw that right there. All you have to do again is hold right on the joystick as you're kind of going down this slide. If you do that, that's how you get the Secret Waters commendation But either way that you go, you're going to be launched out into the same area. So if you go left or right, you're going to be launched out into the same area, which is pretty awesome. You swim to the surface and you'll get to see the Flying Dutchman in all its glory in this big open cavern. Pretty cool. So the next thing that, or the first thing I should say, that we're going to do in this cavern is our next Siren's Call switches. And again, like I said, you need to do these in the same order that I do. So the first one is going to be to the right hand side of the Flying Dutchman. Then we're going to just go ahead and swim all the way to the other side. So I'm just going under it. You can get over here however you want, but to the left side of the Flying Dutchman is going to be the next lever. And then if we turn and go towards the front of the ship, all the way to the front is going to be our third lever. Okay, and while we're grabbing this, I'll tell you the order of these. You know, I've played this several times. The images seem to be the same. They don't seem to vary in the order in which these images are. Every time I've done it, this second one has been the Mermaid. But anyway, that's just important for the order of blocks on a later puzzle. But once we've gotten that out of the way, now we're going to board the Flying Dutchman, and you can board the Flying Dutchman on the front of the ship. You're going to find this ladder, and when you go up here, Jack's going to be up here. Again, you can chat with him for another little second if you want to, but eventually you're going to head down into the hull of the ship, and you're going to find a map with a dagger in it. Just pick up that dagger. Jack's going to come and basically take it from you anyway, but that's how you're going to progress it. By picking up that dagger, you kind of activate the Flying Dutchman, and you kind of begin the next two phases of the tall tale. So from the map, we're going to turn around and we're going to go up the stairs, and then from the top of the stairs turn around again and head all the way to the back here, and now this door will open and you're going to go, you know, be in this room with this beautiful organ. A pretty cool room. But the first thing you want to do on the very left hand side on this kind of trunk here is our next journal. Immediately when you walk in, on the left. So after you pick up that journal, you know, Jack, again, he'll be speaking for a little bit, but he's eventually going to give you a musical sheet that you can look at inside of your Tall Tale book. I recommend looking at it in the book because it's easier to see here. When you put it on the organ, you'll see it's a little harder to see, but it's really easy to figure out. I mean, it's telling you 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. It's basically saying hit the keys in that exact order, but what you have to figure out is, well, which are those keys? So if you look to the left hand side of the screen, you can see I'm kind of moving left and right. I'm moving them just so you can see where I'm at. The keys that correspond to the ones you need to hit are the ones that are a little bit grayer than everything else, right? You can see I'm kind of going across them right now, with the number 1 corresponding to the key on the left that is, you know, all the way left gray with that scratch on it. So you're going to hit that in the same order. 1 2 3 4 5, skip 1 6, go back to the black key for 7 and drop down for 8. And when you do that, now you have finished the organ puzzle, and the Flying Dutchman will start to get attacked by ocean crawlers. And you're going to have several waves of ocean crawlers to deal with. There's a few things that you can use. There's a couple tridents here on the ship. You can use those to fire at the enemies if you like. There's also cannons on the main hull here. I don't really like these ones as much because you don't have that good of a view. It's just like that little space between the window. I like the ones at the top deck where you first got onto the ship. One, you got more swivel room, and the cannonball barrels are right behind you. But sometimes there'll be enemies that just are not in a good cannon range, and you need to use a trident or a gun or whatever. But essentially what's going to happen is you're going to fight waves of the ocean crawlers, and for every wave that you finish, those big siren statues are going to start glowing red. And eventually, I mean, it's going to take you a minute. There's quite a few waves to get through, but eventually once you get through all the waves, which includes some of them boarding your ship, you'll have all of those statues glowing red, and the door behind the Flying Dutchman will now open, and we can proceed past this area. So let's jump off the boat and we'll head back through that direction, and you'll kind of swim through a cavern and you'll enter this large, again, just beautiful cavern. I love the colors in these tall tales. You will have to fight a few sirens in here, but once you dispose of them, the first thing let's go ahead and grab the tall tale book, or the tall tale journal that's in here. Just swim straight down from where you entered this room, and you're going to see these 2 cages. The cages that's lower in the water is going to have our next journal. All right, from that journal, if you just look up now underwater, you're going to see all these pieces of shipwreck that are kind of stuck down here, and they all are tethered by these ropes. there's 3 pieces of shipwreck, and each piece is tethered by 2 pieces of rope. So you need to cut or shoot those ropes however you want to do it, and free all those pieces of shipwreck until they are now floating at the top of the water, because that's going to create the path that we need in order to progress in the tall tale. So once you've cut all those pieces of rope, now we can get on those shipwrecks and get to the other side of the room. But before we go left, which is the way we need to go, we're going to get our next siren kind of levers pulled. When you cross the path, the first one's going to be right there on your right, and then turn right and head behind these waterfalls for our second lever. And then the next one, if you go underwater and you kind of head the northwest direction all the way down, you're going to find this one on this rock down here. And again, as I mentioned on the previous 2, you need to hit them in the same order that I did. And once you hit all of those 3, we're going to see our next picture, which is the Trident. So now in order, we've seen the shark, we've seen the mermaid, and we've seen the Trident. So now we're just, again, we just crossed the same shipwreck pieces that we made float earlier. Now we go to the left-hand side. We're going to be going up that ladder, but before we do, if you look under this little kind of dock formation, you'll find your next journal. All right, from that journal, we're going to progress our tall tale now. We're going to go ahead and go up this piece of shipwreck onto this little platform and up the ladder, and you're going to find a pulley that you can use. So grab that pulley, and we're going to use that, and what that's going to do is you can kind of see off in the distance, you're going to see this platform kind of go underwater, right? And so now it's sort of out of the way, like it was blocking something. So let's go ahead and jump over there, and in fact, you can actually see Jack all the way from where you are. He kind of appears there. Try to do a better sword dash than I do. Don't just like launch yourself into the wall. But eventually when you get over here, you're going to trigger some more dialogue with Jack, and eventually he's going to open the path for you through this waterfall and this kind of stone door that was blocking your way before. So once he does that, now we can kind of just go up this little, coral tunnel here, and we're going to be in our next room, which is actually going to be quite a lengthy piece of dialogue from Jack. He's going to talk for quite a while, but eventually he's going to find this siren heart for you. And just like the sunken pearl, this is very similar. We're starting to do our siren statue puzzles. So now we need to find a siren that's missing his heart. We're going to place that in him, and now we can essentially activate this. If you look to the left, or I guess opposite side of where they are, kind of where we came into the room, just to go over it again. So the picture of the first siren statue is one with a stone or a mineral, and use their arms. Okay, the second one has the chain, but both of their arms are up. I don't like to use the trident position because it doesn't match very well with how they're positioned on the statue. As I've mentioned in the sunken pearl, it's much easier to look at how their arm is. So just hit both of these until their arm is in the up position, and once you've done that, now you can hit the statue with the conch, and it'll open the door, the wooden door that was blocking our way to progress forward. So once you go through that door, you're going to be in this large cavern area. It's actually the level up from where we just were. In fact, if you look down, you'll see those shipwreck pieces in the water that we made float earlier. So just be careful, because if you do fall off, you may have to make your way all the way back up here, and sometimes the doors will close, but don't worry if they do. You just hit the statue that has the conch and they'll open again. So if you kind of walk over the waterfall, you're going to see another statue with some coral in its hand. If you look up to the left, again, you'll see the image that says, okay, that one's arm is down. So let's hit that one time and put his arm down. Now we'll climb across that piece of shipwreck, and if you look to your left, we'll see the next siren statue, as well as the image showing that we need to have his arm in the middle position. Again, look at his arm, it's horizontal. I don't like to use the trident. Look at that arm, put that in the middle position. So we're going to need to shoot this one 2 times in order to put his arm in the middle position. So that's 2 of the siren statues. So now if we look up to the right, so you're going to have to kind of look up now. And if you look up and to the right, you'll see another statue up there. You can kind of barely see it, but if you look up there, you can definitely see the image with the mineral or stone, and his arm is in the high position. So we're just going to shoot that 1 time, put his arm in the high position. Now we'll back up a little bit on the ship and kind of look up into the southwest, and you'll see the larger siren statue that has the conch that you need to shoot in order to activate the next piece of this puzzle, which by doing that, actually this waterfall that's spewing will dissipate, and now you're actually going to be able to cross that waterfall. Before we can do that, we actually need to go back to the platform back here and activate this pulley, and by using that you'll raise the ship up, and that's going to give you enough room to be able to jump to the other side. This does fall down, but really slowly. You have plenty of time. You don't need to rush or anything. So just kind of walk over here and jump to the other side. Now as soon as we get to the other side, we're going to be able to do our next Siren's Call. So as you're making your way up, you're going to come to these broken masts that you're going to be climbing across. When you get to the first one, all right, when you get to the very first mast from the shipwreck that we just crossed, about halfway, drop off to the right, and that's our first lever. And again, just to reiterate, you need to hit these levers in the same order that I am. So now we're going to go up that broken mast, and you'll see another broken mast, and we're going to cross the second broken mast. And when we cross that, if you look slightly to the left, you'll see the second lever. Now that you've pulled that, we can head back across the broken mast that we just crossed, and right at the end of it, turn immediately left, and you should see this lever right here on the wall. Once you hit all three of those, now you're going to see a new image appear on the cavern wall that's going to depict 3 cannonballs. So now we've got 4 of our 5 kind of murals in order to get the Siren's Call commendation. So once you've got that, now we can kind of progress along the way, and as soon as you cross that second mast to the left are more images of 2 statues that both have their arms in the up position. So if we go to the next door, again, rinse and repeat. Let's get these mermaids, or these siren statues, to have their arms in the up position. So once you've done that, we'll turn around and we will kind of look across the way, and that's where the siren with the conch is that we need to hit in order for the door to open. So once you shoot that, and of course the music plays out again, the door will open and you'll be able to progress on through the tall tale into the next section of the game, which is where you're actually going to kind of drop down into this little pool-like area, and you're going to have some ocean crawlers spawn on you, and you're going to have to fight them here. It's only like a couple. It's not like a bunch of waves or anything. I think it's just one wave of a couple ocean crawlers. But once you defeat them in the same room, look immediately to your left on the west side in this kind of, you know, mustard yellow coral is our next journal. From that journal, we're just going to progress on the path that we're supposed to go. You're going to come to another door that's blocked, but there'll be a geyser just to the left. Hop on that geyser, and you'll kind of go up around this just really short path, and at the top of it will be a rope that you can shoot, and shooting that's going to be able to open the door so you can get through into the next area. So once you go through the airlock type bubble by shooting that, you'll be in another room with 3 more siren statues. Immediately when you come in, if you look up, you'll see the chain statue with the arm in the down position. You're going to see the mineral or stone with the arm in the middle position, and the coral with the arm in the up position. So we're going to put all of them in the direction that we need. Let's get the chain in the down position, move over to the coral, and we'll put his arm in the up position, and then we'll hit the mineral one twice and get his arm in the middle position. And then once you've done that, now again we can hit the statue that has the conch, and what that's going to do is that's going to raise the water level in this room all the way to the top of the room. So it'll take, you know, a second or two to start going, but once you get to the top, before you go through the tunnel, we're going to get our next journal, and we're going to do our last siren call. So once you get to the top, immediately look to the north, and you'll see this kind of light blue coral. Just to the left of that is this pinkish coral with the book right in it. All right, from that journal, we're going to do our final Siren's Call mermaid kind of mural. If you turn around from that journal, on the south end of that room, again, that we just rose to, is our first lever. And then you just kind of progress through this tunnel. This is the way you're supposed to go, but you progress through this tunnel and you'll come to an area where these 2 broken masts are down. Jump to the second mast and look up and to the right for our second lever. And again, do these in the same order that I am. From that lever, we're going to jump down into the water a little bit to the west-southwest, and in the water will be our third and final lever, and that will get you the final kind of mural to activate, which is going to be a boat, and that should unlock you the Siren's Call Commendation. Now, in the left side of this room is a pulley that you can pull up, and that's going to pull the mast that's in the distance up. And then if you just jump over the more proximal mast and raise that up, now we can cross. Now, these do lower, but it's very slow. You have plenty of time. So when you get to the top of that, you'll have another slide to enjoy. So let's just enjoy the ride for a second. So once you land, you'll be in this area and you'll hear some of your foes in discussion. You can hear them, but you can't see them. And if you progress forward through this little tunnel here, you want to kind of take it slow, because there's a commendation one we want to get here called Dark Desires. And in order to get that, you need to sit back long enough to witness their entire conversation, which is like 2 to 3 minutes. But don't go any further where I'm at than here. If you get too close, they'll kind of get scared and scurry off. You need to stand there the entire time until their conversation ends and they do, you know, let's start the ritual. But once that's done, immediately turn to our right and you'll see some kind of yellow and blue coral. This is before you go down the ramp into the room itself, and you're going to find our 9th journal tucked away right here. From this journal, just go ahead and turn around, and again, now we're going to go down the ramp I was just referring to, and on the left hand side, the second chair will have our final journal right next to the leg of the chair. Now, before we progress the tall tale into the final room, we want to get the Heart of a Thief commendation, and this is where seeing all of those murals that we did with all of those levers comes into play. If you see, there's this dead man chest in the room that says it's locked. Well, if you go to the southeast portion of the room, you're going to find this, and it has all those same items that we saw by finding those levers. So if we go from left to right and we turn these blocks into the order that we saw them, which was Shark, Mermaid, Trident, Cannonball, and then the boat, then this will open and we'll be able to get the key. Now, with that said, I haven't seen any variance in this. It's been the same every time. If you didn't see all those, murals and you didn't pull all those levers, you can still open that and get this note from the chest, and you'll get the Heart of a Thief commendation. But if you don't do all the levers, you won't get the Siren's Call commendation. So you still need to do both. So once we've done all that, we're ready to progress on to the final room of this tall tale. Really fun tall tale, really enjoy it. Vibrant colors, it's really cool. But you're gonna come in here, you're gonna see quite the conversation. Obviously, I'm not gonna ruin that for you, but that's gonna culminate in a large battle taking place. Okay, you're gonna fight a lot of ocean crawlers. To the left-hand side of the room is some ammo if you need it. There's some tridents around the room, as well as some barrels with fruit if you need it. But you're gonna fight quite a bit of ocean crawlers until eventually Jack says he needs your help, and there's going to be no more enemies spawning. When that happens, if you go towards the back northern part of the room, there'll be a ramp that you can go up to this pulley, and essentially you're just going to pull this platform down and then you're going to raise it right back up, so Jack can go and basically get ammo. And once he does that, he'll kick down some supplies for you and your crew. If you're running low, if you need something, he'll kick down a storage crate. But once he does that, essentially you're going to have a bunch more waves of enemies to go through. Jack is very helpful. If you keep the enemies in view of where Jack is firing his cannon from, that can really help you decimate the enemies. But eventually the waves will stop again, and at that point Jack will be asking for your help. And now we need to go to the opposite side, so to the south, and that'll be another pulley that we can use in order to help Jack get across the mast that you can see in the distance and get some more ammo for himself, as well as kick you more supplies. After that, again, a bunch of waves. This is a long fight. You're going to be met with a familiar foe, but eventually that battle will end. I mean, it's going to be a long battle. It's really fun though, especially solo. But so eventually, after you've fought for a pretty while, you know, Jack will be hung upside down, and to release him you just need to turn around and slice the rope that's behind him, and then he'll basically go through some things to bring these cannons into play, and you just need to fire at that force field until it eventually goes away. And that's actually the last thing that you need to do in the tall tale. You're going to have a little bit of dialogue. Again, I won't spoil that for you, and once all that's done, you can kind of jump through this portal and you'll fall outside of the Coral Fortress back to the entrance where your boat is. And you have now completed the 4th tall tale in the pirate's life. We only have one more to go, so I hope you all are finding this helpful. And with that, you should have all of the commendations in the Dark Brethren Tall Tale in your Tall Tales portion of your journal. So I hope you found this helpful. As always, if you like this stuff, feel free to like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you on the seas.